So, how is it helping me? Is it helping me? It is really helping me because input service I can get now and put in my pocket. Only thing, my contracts have to be done properly. I have to say that service tax आ गया, अभी आपको service tax देना पड़ेगा. पुराना contract गया. पुराना contract में एक validation है. What you can do is up to the date on which this became applicable, I think 1st of March. Up to that time, you take a certificate from a chartered engineer saying that 65% is complete or 75% is complete as per actuals, not fake. Then from that amount you don't pay, balance you pay. Because rendition of service is very, very important in service tax. Whenever there is a change. Not if there is no change. Like he told, the example was, there is no change. I got advance, you have to pay on advance. I billed, I have to pay on billing. I completed the service, I have to pay on completion. But whenever there is a change, then the other rule kicks in. 2 out of 3 criteria. In that case, I can get advantaged here. Because rendition of service is most important. You can look at the decision of Society of Chartered Accountants, Delhi High Court decision. This was on that, when the tax rate was increased from 10 to 12. Whether on debtors I have to pay 2% was the question. So that was fought when I was the chairman of the Indirect Tax Committee. People said go and meet CBEC and all that, you have to meet. I got a lot of pressure. Past presidents, 11 past presidents called me and said, it seems you don't want to go to CBEC. I said, sir, we have been beggars all our life. Let's be professionals. Then I got fed up. One fine day I called some lawyer in Delhi and I gave it to him. Within 10 days he got me stay. Within 2 months that case was decided. Society of Auditors or Delhi Chartered Accountant Society or something, some bogus thing that is, nothing exists like that. But anyway, decision was clear, rendition of service is very important in such cases. So you can get some advantage of that 65% complete हुआ उस पर नहीं pay करने का, even if you receive later. Okay, that can be some validation for you.
But this is applicable from the date that.
I don't know, sir. You will have to look. हमारा ही budget publication है, देख लीजिए. हमारा क्या ढीला है. I know only principles. Rest our office does. So this also is a reason, getting old. So many things we can't keep in. कितना dates we याद करेंगे? In the service tax, we have some applicable on monthly, some applicable on 4th, some applicable on notified date. Some of it I remember, some of it I don't. But that is available in any book, or even our own budget publication will be available. So what they are saying is, what is now taxable is civil structure other than original work meant predominantly for other than commercial purposes. This was exempted prior to this budget. Now they don't say that this exemption is there. Therefore, even if I do work for government and I am putting up a school for government, I am putting up quarters for the government, I am putting up a hospital for government, before this change, all of them were exempt. After this change, all of them are liable. And as sir said, if I have an old contract, what do? Actually, I have a solution for that also. There is some principle under law called consensus ad idem. That means when I and you contracted, there was a certain circumstance, and in that circumstance, service tax was not applicable. So in my view, if you go to the civil court and put a case against that government department, they'll have to pay it because at the time when you got into the contract, service tax was not applicable. Anyway, I'm not getting into controversy.
But contract may all future, present or future taxes.
I know, sir, even then you can go to the civil court because consensus item means what? Future taxes, can you imagine what will come? Whatever you can't imagine cannot have been contracted for is the understanding in that. You'll have to go to some decisions of consensus ad item. There are enough of decisions which give you clarity on this, even if they put future taxes. But again, it's a possibility. I can't guarantee anything there. So a structure which was used earlier, education, clinical, art, all these are even now they are all taxable, whether it is educational or clinical means hospital, etc. Residential complex for use of employees. This was the clause under which government quarters, there was no service tax earlier, now it has become liable. construction, erection, commissioning, installation of original work pertaining to an airport or port has been withdrawn. This is because government feels that in future airports and ports will be built by PPP. So they are trying to provide for it right now so that that exemption doesn't come in the GST regime. They have provided that. However, the exemption to subcontractors has been extended. It is still there. That means if I am doing road contract and I am giving you a contract for doing part of the road, then it is exempt. If I ask you to do a contract of rolling of the road, straightening of the road, I give you some other contract other than road laying, then it will be liable to service tax. So here also some tax planning can be done. You ensure that you work with subcontractors such that the subcontractor also is providing the same exempted service as what you are providing. Little planning is possible here.
Sir?
Yes, sir.
One question is in that, supposing if the main contractor is constructing a road and he is giving the part of the contract to the subcontractor, you are saying it is exempted.
Yes.
But so if you go to further clarification, I think it's a 100% back-to-back basis.
No.
Nothing like that, sir.
No. There is the clause is, sir, 29H. 29H you go in mega exemption. 29 is a serial number in that ABCD is there, H is there. H says as long as the works contract and the works contract is exempted and you are giving another works contract, you are giving a works contract to the next person, then you are exempted. But if it is not a works contract, say it's a labor contract you give, then it will be liable. If it is some other thing like hiring of machinery, hiring of road roller, something like this, then it will be liable. There are many such practices in this trade. You know, only hiring of vehicles is there, hiring of cranes is there. All these can be converted into subcontract where the same activity of works contract is done. I'm just trying to tell you where all there is possibility of having actual such that it will support optimization of tax. So this exemption has got pruned now. Services to government. Earlier government was defined in a different way. Earlier government definition was even if the state or central government has 90% share in the government, in that undertaking, it used to be called a government undertaking, where the influence was there. For example, there was a IAS officer who is sitting in the state legislature of West Bengal who takes the decision for this company. Control is there. Then also it was considered government undertaking. Now they have changed the definition of government itself as far as the service tax law is concerned. So you need to see the new definition of government if your clients are claiming any exemption. In the past he may be eligible. After this budget, not eligible. Because he falls outside government. So this is another twist which has come because of this. I think here there is no change in this particular thing, but it is an information slide. There is no change because of the budget. It has remained the same, so I will pass it. Here also it has remained the same. The important aspect here is probably the second item, which says single residential unit. Many builders come to us who have put up, large areas. They put a gated enclave and they sell plots. First activity of them is to sell the plot. In that, as I said, some part could be liable to service tax, most of it is not liable. But then after that they also get into construction. Now whether that plot, what you call villa, there will be one unit which will come up in that one plot. Can this exemption be taken? Because this exemption still exists. So the question is, for villas, should we pay service tax or not if I am building villas? The answer to this is, if you have doubt, you should be paying. Otherwise, you should have a clear-cut sanction plan for your building alone. Then you can avoid service tax. That means there is an option for me. Ranjit ji has a lot of property, more than the sir, so I go to him. 10 acres I could put flats, 100 acres I require for plots, so I go to him. खुश हो गए ना? नहीं, मेरे को मालूम है आपके पास नहीं है. So I go to him and I take. So what I do is, my plot taking and the construction which he does for me will be two different activities. There is an option also. I don't have to go to Ranjit, I can go to some other builder and get it done. But for me, convenience, I am sitting in US or I am sitting in Bangalore, in Calcutta, I want a big villa. You know, incidentally, I did my schooling here, St. Paul's in Alipur, 2 saal. So very happy. I have traveled up. Really? Okay. If I have enough time, we could have gone, because I have not seen my school after. I was a small kid that time, maybe 5th standard or 6th standard. Sir, कल नहीं है ना, अभी जा रहे हैं फ्लाइट में शाम में. Next time we will go, sir. I also broke both my hands in that school. You can imagine what is the plight of person who breaks both his hands. Totally at the mercy of my mother. That time I was starting to become very independent, so I was brought down to ground level. So single residential unit, it can only happen when I apply. Ranjit ji will apply for plan sanction for me. Madhukar Hiregange के नाम में plan sanction लेंगे, then he will construct for me. He is not liable to service tax because he can take this exemption.
So like that we can do for all in the
Yes, he can do for everybody. There is a decision of the Chennai tribunal. If you are interested, you can note it down. Marco Marvel. And in Marco Marvel, it went to Supreme Court also. And Supreme Court said it's perfectly in order. But I have given you some method by which it can become even stronger. Marco Marvel. It was a tribunal decision which went to Supreme Court. Supreme Court said there is no need to interfere with this order. So it's still considered, a villa is considered as a separate unit. In my view, if you take separate sanction, you are safe. And using Marco Marvel, set that Brahmastra. Brahmastra na, भेज दो. I use Brahmastra quite often. Sometimes even if I am not convinced, we use Brahmastra. Actually, you should do it only if you are convinced that there is a doubt. Other things I think I can pass, except the last one. Last one is very interesting. You know, all the agricultural activity, India has started now focusing on agricultural production and agricultural related processing. So there is going to be lots of it. And therefore, this last exemption also may be useful, where it says construction, erection, commissioning, installation of mechanized food handling system, machinery equipment for units processing agricultural produce or foodstuff. On that also they pay. Nowadays people are paying on erection and installation of machinery. Other than for agricultural foodstuff, for everything else it's applicable, for them it's not applicable. If at all you have any client, it will be of some use to you. Let's look at some of the issues which are there. Some of it I would have already talked about. I had talked about 2A. What was 2A? I had given you an example of tiles, where my tiles are costing 92%. So I don't have to pay on 40% original works, I don't have to pay. If I am doing repairing of tiles, I don't have to pay service tax on 70%. I can go on cost itself. I can go on cost, actual cost, 90% or 92% I pay VAT, 10% I pay service tax. This is possible under 2A. If I am not able to determine, then I have to follow the normal 40% and all that. Maintenance of road specifically exempted. So what happens if my property, I am doing plotted development in which roads are there? First argument of mine was road is given to government, therefore it is exempted activity, assuming it's liable. Road is not liable because it's exempted. So then when you give a contract for doing development of property, you can break it up. Roads ka itna. For example, development of land normally costs between 200 to 500 depending on the quality of the development. In that, road will constitute at least 60%. Road includes all the side. Gutter to gutter is road. If you go to West Bengal Municipality Act, road will be defined. Look at the road definition. It will say gutter to gutter. So gutter to gutter means in between electrical lines also are there. Electrical poles are there. Everything will get exempted because it's a road. So you can exclude that part of the activity of development, because many builders will get into agreement for development of property also. He will have one sale of land, one development charges. In development charges, if you have got the breakup, oh Arun ji has come. Sir, हम आराम से कर रहे थे, अभी थोड़ा फास्ट करना पड़ेगा. Actually, I wanted him to speak before me. Now he has advantage. He will speak after me. Free of cost material. What happens when free of cost material is there? In this again, the issue is that whether the material value should be taken to arrive at your 40% is the question. So the decision in this regard, Bayana Builders, is a larger bench decision which says there need not be. Why? Because service tax has always been on the value of service, not on the value of material. On that basis, this decision is there. Decision could be overruled in future. One of the care you have to take, tax planning tip if I were to call, when I have to give a contract for, say, building a commercial building and I am providing steel and cement. I am providing steel and cement to you. You are the builder. So I can get into a contract which is 100 crores, value of steel and cement 30 crores. This is one option. Another option is I give you a contract for 70 crores. That's all. So the second option obviously is a better option to avoid this dispute itself, even if it were to come in future. No adding, because your contract only is for 70 crores. So you will charge only 70. Question of 100 crores does not come. But if you add,
no, to level the 40%,
only on 70. That is what Bayana Builders also says.
Bayana Builders.
Sir, ये बहुत पुराना कहानी है sir. On free issue material there is no liability under service tax as of now. Later there may be some change. Again, SEZ developer, because he is in the SEZ, he is doing enabling export activity, they have given an exemption. Bifurcation of composite contract. It was held many times that is not possible. However, as of today, L&T holds good, though there are lots of decisions in between where it says every contract, whether it is one contract, two contracts, is bifurcatable, there is works contract. Therefore, you have to pay on the portion which is liable other than the movable property, which we have discussed little earlier. This is for cases before 2007, only for people who have litigation, this particular decision is important. Whether the supply of goods is incidental to the service, that you have to see. For example, I will take photography. Photography, there has been lot of confusion. So one of the ways in which it could be solved is that you pay service tax on the gross amount. Why? Because 80% or 75% of the items which are used are paper, thermal paper or chemicals, both of which suffer excise duty. So why are you taking dispute? Take credit and charge on the gross. Reduce the basic to that extent. So आपका impact वही रहता है without litigation. Why don't you go for that? So in many cases where there is a doubt, you can write to the department like this and tell them this is what I am doing. Now I talk to the unresolved issues. This is my last slide, but in this many of them I have already discussed. So whichever I discussed I am going to drop. Is plotted development covered? I have already talked to you. On the roads part of it, you have a good reason to keep it outside. You can have a contract which is very clear that what is that portion of the development which is liable to service tax. Make it clear to the buyer and make it clear to department and pay on that. Otherwise, they will ask you to pay on the entire development charge. Is developer liable for construction of landlord share? We have already spoken about this. In my view, there is a flaw, but as of now, I wouldn't advise examining because I think it can go either way. Mostly, it will become liable, is what I think, and that's why I gave you some planning for how you can reduce the value. And if it is liable, at which point it's liable. This is very important. Under the point of taxation rules, if I am doing construction for landlord, in my view, whenever the builder invoices the landlord, at that point he is liable. At that time he has to look at comparative sale prices and use that as charging, but he may not charge on everything. So what will happen in the end? You may ask the question. I don't know whether he should bill at all. If there is no requirement under law to bill, then he will not bill, and whatever is the property which is completed for the landlord, maybe it can get away. Maybe. I still am not very sure about it. Maybe it will not be liable. For example, in your case, you got 60 apartments from me, correct? And out of 60 apartments, you decided to sell 10 because your children were crying for money. But balance 50, as per me, may not be liable at all, though I am providing you that service. May not be liable, I am not saying it's not liable. What happens when the landlord sells? I have already spoken, landlord is liable. Can it be paid by the developer? Very important question. Landlord doesn't want, hey, magajbari nahi chahiye, tum hi kar lo. Possible. There is a decision of Katrina Kaif. Some of the males will be very interested, please note down. Even if you don't read the case, at least you can visualize her. Katrina Kaif is a busy actress, so her agent was paying service tax in some company's name. But he was paying it on our behalf. So the department told, no, Katrina Kaif, you have to pay. How can somebody else pay on your behalf? So then the argument was taken that agent can pay. So even the developer can pay for the landlord provided you declare to the department. That's my view, and I think it's quite possible.
Katrina is not nice.
Pardon?
Katrina is not nice.
Yeah, maybe I'm eligible. I'm married, but दुबई को जाना पड़ेगा कहीं और No, nowadays there are some younger people who are far more attractive than Katrina, but उनका अभी तक सर्विस टैक्स का केस नहीं हुआ है. क्या करें? Sir has kept tab. ये एज में भी आपने सब टैब रखा है, किसका शादी हुआ है नहीं हुआ है सब. बहुत शादी है. Who knows? I never had an idea of marrying her. He told this. मैं बोलता हूँ एक बार गड्ढे में गिर गए और एक बार कैसे गिरने का. 20 odd years, जो भी है. Electricity clubhouse deposits, are they liable to service tax? There is a possibility. Why? Because electricity charges which is charged by the builder is not pure electricity. वहाँ वो घूस जो देता है वो भी आ जाता है उसमें. He is not charging you the deposit. Deposit तो 10,000 है, but he is charging you 1.5 lakhs for that electricity work. So therefore, it is not equal to the amount of deposit. It is not deposit actually. It is all the kharcha. Material also may be involved. Clubhouse, they'll have one clubhouse for which some deposit will be there. This clubhouse deposit is an eternal problem of misery. Mostly the builders exhaust that money before they hand over. Very few builders are transferring money to that association. So why are you taking problems and paying on gross amount? Why do you want to pay on 100%, 12.36? Take the deduction under this law, no? If you use LNT, it will come to 2 or 1 or 2% will be the tax on this. Why are you paying on 12.36%? Include all this in construction value. Bundled service concept anyway is there, include everything in that and then charge only on the construction portion. So you will save some money also. TDR purchase we already talked about. Deduction for land, is it possible? Nowadays department is becoming ultra. I don't know whether the VAT department here has started on this value. In Karnataka, there is a circular 12/2009. The commissioner says that whenever you are selling any property to a buyer, Ranjit ji is buying, Ranjit ji of course landlord, so Arun ji is the buyer, poor fellow. So when I am selling to it may be opposite actually. Indirect tax wala aadmi hai. But anyway, for my example I will continue. I forgot what I was saying only. This is for deduction for land.
Ranjit ji was landlord.
Ranjit ji was landlord. Yes, so confused हो गया. When I looked at him, I realized that Arun ji will be earning much more than this fellow. So ये हो गया. So okay, he was landlord, बाप ने दिया है, तो वो pass on कर दिया. Then he is the buyer. I am the builder. He is the buyer, and I am giving him the contract. In that contract, I have construction contract. and I have value of land. Like sir, I had given 60% of the built area to Ranjitji. So in my agreement also, 5,000 rupees agreement which I had with Arunji, 6,000 was undivided interest in land. Why? 60% anyway I am giving Ranjitji. The balance is construction, which is 2,000 rupees. Now the department in Bangalore, in Karnataka is saying, this particular value which you are giving is the value of goods transferred. You got to transfer to landlord, but you are recovering from Arunji. Therefore, you pay service tax, VAT on this also. Are you catching what I said? They want VAT on not only the value of the materials which may be involved in the value which I have given him. They want even the value of the material involved in that 60 flats which I have given Ranjitji. There are hundreds of notices issued recently in Karnataka. I don't know, here also it may come. Same thing may be followed in service tax also in future. L&T decision I have already spoken to you. I talked to you about percentage of completion. Just to round up, this is the last point after which we will allow Mr. Arunji to talk. What is the point? We will take the same example. 5,000 rupees, 3,000 is land, 2,000 is construction. Once it is 80% or 75% complete, what is the agreement to be? After 75% is complete, Arunji came to me. I am still selling at 5,000 rupees. And therefore, what my agreement will be? My agreement will be 3,000 rupees is undivided interest in land which I am giving Ranjitji. Balance 2,000, 75% is complete. Out of 2,000, 75% I will say is completed construction, which is 1,500. And I will offer for VAT and service tax only 500 rupees. This is the planning which is possible in L&T. Please take an opinion if you are going forward with this for any person. Don't take from one, take from two. So that you are clear of what all other possibilities are there in this. But this is an excellent tax planning device for most landlords. Recently there was a Punjab and Haryana High Court decision on deduction of land. You can Google it, you will get it. L&T decision we have talked, construction of villas we have talked, transfer and relinquishment of booking. Many investors are there in this field. They will enter a project at the time of 3,000 or 4,000 they will pay, and at some point at 5,000 they will exit. वो पैसा डाल देते हैं and then they go out. What happens when they transfer it or relinquish it? It is also an activity which is for a consideration and it is provided from one person to other, and there is no transfer of property. There is only a right to the property being transferred. Therefore, in my view, all these amounts are liable. Even the investor who finally gets out of the property also is liable for this.
So who will pay, sir, then in that case?
Pardon?
So in that case, who will pay the tax, service tax?
Whoever is providing the service. For example, I have booked Arunji has booked with me. I am the builder, right? He has booked with me in the starting because he knows me. Sir, आप अच्छा जगह में डाल रहे हैं, मैं भी एक दो फ्लैट ले लेता हूँ, बहुत पैसा है मेरे पास. So he books with me. But he is not giving money because he wants to help me. He knows starting में मधुकर 3,000 में दे रहा है, 5,000 को तो लेके जाएगा. Then he will exit when it reaches 5,000. So who is providing service? He is giving me back that flat so that I can sell it at 5,500. But he will make 2,000 in that. So who is providing service to me? He. So he has to charge me. If it is less than 10 lakhs, he need not charge. Otherwise he will charge. I can take credit. Remember, I am selling the property further to somebody and collecting service tax. I will take credit for whatever he charges and go ahead. Can I get credit on lift, DG set, transformer in a residential building? You all have to answer. This is test for you. What you understood with whatever I told.
Yes. Yes.
How do you say yes?
Only input source system.
Sir, it is not input service. It's a capital good. Is it used for providing the service? Was the lift used to provide the construction service?
No. Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
No. Lift is put in the building.
It is being consumed in the building.
It is consumed in the building. It's an input for the building. It's not a capital good. So you can't take. What if I am renting out the building? Say every building I am putting up, top floor will be normally वो क्या बोलते हैं उसका?
Penthouse.
हाँ, penthouse. उसका कोई sanction नहीं रहता है. Nobody will buy it. So I will rent it out.
वही सबसे ज्यादा ज्यादा
कॉस्टली है, ठीक है, गार्डन वार्डन सब दे देते हैं, रूफ राइट्स, ठीक है. Okay, I have let out the penthouses. I am giving it on rent. Then can I take credit of the lift, etc.?
Yes.
Answer is this is correct answer. So if the builder is only going to construct and get out of the property, then he will not get credit for all these lift, DG set, etc. If not, possibly this is a way of getting credit. There is one decision of the tribunal which is in stay order state level for this. Just think, can we not apply this for our malls?